Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to introduce you to some of the most iconic guns in the Wild West, so make sure to watch till the end. Number 1. The Peacemaker. The Colt single-action army revolver, also known as the Peacemaker, is well known to anyone who has seen 1950s Western movies. What does one action mean? In a single-action gun, the shooter manually pulls back the hammer before pulling the trigger to start the fire. Over the course of its history, the Peacemaker was produced in various calibers, most notably the .45. Despite not being the first revolver by any means, its creation in 1873 represented a turning point in the history of firearms. The Peacemaker and its rivals claim that it was the first revolver of the cartridge type that the American Army had ever used. The people who lived on the frontier also started to favor the six-shooter as their weapon of choice. At the Battle of Little Big Horn, the sidearms artillery variant was employed. The Colt single-action army is so recognizable that one given to President Theodore Roosevelt as a birthday gift sold at auction for $1.4 million to an unidentified buyer. During World War II, General George S. Patton was renowned for carrying a Peacemaker with an ivory handle. Well, Colt still produces this masterpiece as it is always in demand. Number 2. The Colt Navy Revolver. The 1851 Colt Navy Revolver was one notable replacement for the Colt Patterson. According to Shooting Times, this weapon was a single-action, six-shooter .36 caliber weapon, and in its history, Colt's factory in Hartford, Connecticut produced 215,348 Navy models. But the first sidearm that could truly be attributed to the frontier gunfighter was the Colt Navy. Number 3. Smith & Wesson's Russian model. Let's move on from Colt and discuss Smith & Wesson, one of the major firearm producers. According to historian Jeff Kinnard, the company had signed a significant contract with the Russian Empire for the purchase of its guns, known as the Russian. Before becoming well-known, new model Russian revolver was produced in 1874 to 1878. This revolver went through two iterations. Over 60,000 guns were made, with the Russian and Japanese navies receiving the majority of them. Number 4. The Springfield Allen conversions. During the Civil War, Springfield rifles were the most popular weapon used by the North and the South. The muzzle loading of these weapons reduced their effectiveness and rate of fire. The National Park Service claims that because of how the rifle was loaded, soldiers would frequently experience blow-ups of the weapon as a result of bullets jamming halfway up the barrel. 58 caliber ammunition, and after testing, the caliber was lowered to .50 and it subsequently evolved into the most widely used Army rifle in the post-Civil War era. This gave the American Army a clear advantage over Plains tribes like Sioux, and it was quickly seized by buffalo hunters and used extensively in the West. Later, more advanced models took the place of these rifles, and many of the outmoded weapons were sent to Europe to be used in the Franco-Prussian War. Number 5. Guns that won the West. Due to their inherent connection, two different Winchester rifles must be viewed as a single entry. In 1866, Oliver Winchester created the first repeating rifle, known as the Yellow Boy because of its bright yellow gunmetal body. A lever was used to load another round into the chamber, allowing the weapon to fire multiple shots from the same gun at once. The 1873 Winchester was even more well-liked, and the manufacturer overmarketed it as the gun that won the West. Over 720,000 of the 1873 model were made, according to one source. The Winchester is one of the most recognizable weapons of the Old West, right behind the Colt single-action Army revolver. These guns are still used today at different cowboy shooting competitions. Number 6. Riding shotgun. A common image of the Old West is a lone stagecoach trundling across the prairie with a grumpy-looking driver securing the coach's safe with a large double-barreled shotgun. Because they were shorter than other shotguns, these weapons were known as messenger guns or cut-off guns. According to the Clark Museum, Wells Fargo stagecoaches served as prime targets for outlaws in the 1850s as they transported mail, passengers, money, and gold from Missouri to California. The company sent armed guards with these messenger guns as a result. The messenger gun had the advantage of being loaded with buckshot, which made it easier to use without having to be accurate. Period. Despite the fact that it appears to have been created much later than the heyday of the Wells Fargo stages. Which one's your